It is 4:51 in the morning. The alarm is set for 5:40 and you are awake anyway. On your back, staring at a ceiling you cannot quite see, doing the thing you do most mornings now. You are counting. Not sheep. Years. How many more mornings like this one? How many more alarms set in the dark for a day you did not choose? The number is large, and it has no end on it. And that is the part that keeps you flat on the mattress with your eyes open. So you reach for your phone, not to scroll for once. You open the calculator. You type in what your life actually costs in a month. Rent, groceries, the car, the phone, the subscriptions you forgot you pay for. You multiply the total by 12. Then you multiply that by 25. A number appears that you have never let yourself look at directly before. It is smaller than you thought. Not small. You could not save it by Friday, or by next year, or maybe by the year after that. But it is smaller than the figure you always assumed it would take. You grew up believing that quitting forever required $10 million, a yacht, a name that opened doors. The number on your phone is none of those things. The number on your phone is just your life, priced out and multiplied by something a stranger worked out 30 years ago. You lock the screen. You unlock it again to make sure you read it right. You did. That is the part no one tells you. The amount it takes to never work again has almost nothing to do with how much you earn. It has everything to do with how much your life costs to keep running. In 1994, a financial planner sat down with 100 years of American market history and asked one question. If you stopped earning and started spending out of your savings, how much could you withdraw every year and never run dry? He tested every 30-year window the record held. The crashes, the booms, the decade where stocks went sideways and paid you nothing. He found a line that almost never broke. 4%. Take 4% the first year, raise it with inflation after that, and in nearly every version of history, the money outlived the person spending it. 4 years later, 3 professors ran the same question through their own machine, sliced the history differently, stress-tested it against the worst starting years on record, and landed on the same stubborn line. 4% held. It has been poked at, lowered, defended, and argued over for 30 years since, and it is still the closest thing personal finance has to a law of physics. 4% is just division wearing a costume. 4% a year is 25 years of spending sitting in the account at once. So the whole question of never working again collapses into a single sentence. Whatever your life costs in a year, multiply it by 25. That is the door. But there is a crack in the floor, and it matters more for you than it did for him. His 30-year window was built for someone who stops at 65 and needs the money to last until 85. You are running this math in a meeting in your 30s. You are not buying 30 years. You are buying 50, maybe 60. Stretched that long, 4% starts to fail in the uglier versions of history, so the careful number drops to 3.5%, sometimes 3.25%. And every fraction you shave off the rate piles more onto the stack. At 4%, you need 25 times your spending. At 3.5%, you need closer to 29 times. The longer you want the freedom to hold, the more the door costs to open. And the door is not bought in a moment of brilliance. It is bought in a long, flat middle that nobody warns you about. For years, the line barely moves. You put money in and the chart does not thank you for it. There is no fireworks the day you cross a milestone. No email, no applause from Greg. The account just sits there looking unfinished while your friends post boats. This is where almost everyone quits. Not because they cannot do the math, but because the math pays them in nothing visible for a very long time. And a human being is not built to keep watering a seed that refuses to break the soil. The people who reach the door are not smarter. They are the ones who kept watering it after they stopped believing it would grow. Start at the bottom, where the door sits closest to the ground. There is a real American life that runs on $35,000 a year. The bottom fifth of households live inside it right now. A small place, paid down or cheaply rented. A car that is old and owned outright. You cook, and the kitchen smells like the same 4 dinners on rotation. You have a library card you actually use. You walk to places other people drive to. Multiply that life by 25, and the number is $876,000. Under $1 million buys a person out of work for the rest of their life. Most people cannot live here, and not because they cannot afford it. They cannot stand it. The cost of this door is not money. It is appetite. Climb to the middle. The household sitting at the exact center of the country spends around $67,000 a year. A modest house with a mortgage that is shrinking. One car you own. One you are still paying off. Dinner out on Fridays at the same 2 places. A week somewhere warm once a year that you photograph too much because it has to last 12 months. Multiply it by 25, and the freedom number is $1,670,000. That is the price of never working again while living exactly like the median family in the country. Except the spreadsheet is lying to you a little, and this is where most people set their target too low. The 4% you pull out is not all yours yet. The government taxes the withdrawal. The health insurance a job used to hand you almost free now costs you real money every single month. Money a salaried person never watches leave their check. So the $67,000 life is not a $1.6 million number. Layer in the taxes and the premiums, and the real figure climbs toward $2 million, sometimes past it. The door is heavier than it looked from across the room. Now the life most people actually want. A bigger house, 2 newer cars, the kids in something private, 2 real vacations a year. Call it $100,000 a year. Multiply by 25, and the number is $2.5 million. And here is the quiet machinery that keeps that door moving away from people their whole lives. Every extra $1,000 a month you add to your life adds $300,000 to the number you need. Not 300, 300,000. So the raise was never the thing. The man 2 desks over got the same raise you did last year. He spent it. New lease, bigger place, the watch. He did not move closer to the door. He moved the door. He bought a life that now requires the exact job that pays for it. And he calls that life success because from the outside, it looks like winning. He did not buy his freedom. He bought a nicer room in the same building and signed a longer lease on it. Then there is the trap nobody writes on the spreadsheet, and it has nothing to do with the size of your number. 2 people reach the same $1.5 million. They quit 18 months apart. The first one walks out into a decade where the market climbs, and 4% turns out generous, and they die with more than they started with. The second one walks out 18 months before a crash. Same number, same 4%. But when you sell shares to eat during a falling market, the shares you spent are gone before they can recover, and the loss locks itself in under your feet. The first 10 years decide everything. The honest number is bigger than the clean one, because the clean one assumes you get to pick your decade. You do not. And underneath all of it, the slow leak. $40,000 buys a full life today. In 20 years, the same $40,000 buys most of it. In 40 years, it buys half. The 4% rule already knows this, which is why the withdrawal climbs a little every year. But it means the market is not only funding your life, it is funding the quiet erosion of every dollar in it forever. The number that looks finished on your phone has water coming in somewhere you cannot see until you are already standing in it. Keep climbing anyway. The top fifth of American households spend around $150,000 a year. Multiply by 25, and the number is $3,750,000. Push to a genuinely rich life, $250,000 a year, and the door costs $6.25 million. And somewhere up here, something strange happens. More money stops buying more freedom and starts buying more to manage. The second home needs a caretaker. The boat needs a crew. The portfolio gets large enough that someone takes a percentage to watch it, and the percentage is its own salary. Freedom and luxury looked like the same road from the bottom. Up here, they quietly fork, and the people with the most are often the least free, because the most has to be guarded. The man with $800,000 can disappear for a year, and nobody needs anything from him. The man with $8 million has 3 phones that ring, a calendar somebody else keeps, and a quiet anxiety that the whole structure depends on him paying attention. He bought a number large enough to need him back, which means the number was never really about wealth. It was about the gap between what comes in and what you let go out. 2 people earn the identical salary. One needs $4 million to walk away, and the other needs $800,000. And the only difference between them is the life each one refuses to stop paying for. The one who learns to want a little less reaches the door first, sometimes by 10 years. The freedom is not bought with the dollars you earn. It is bought quietly, one at a time, with the dollars you decide not to spend. But reaching the door is not the same as walking through it, and this is the last thing nobody tells you. The day the number finally arrives, a new fear arrives with it. What if the decade goes bad? What if you are wrong by a fraction of a percent? What if 80 becomes 90 and the money does not stretch? So you tell yourself one more year, just to be safe. And the raise comes, and the bonus, and the buffer grows. And one more year becomes 3, becomes a decade. There are people who built the entire door, who could have opened it at 50, and who are still at the desk at 67, guarding a buffer they will never spend, trading the only thing the money was ever for to feel a little safer about a risk that already passed. They did the hardest part. They just could not believe they were allowed to stop. That is the cruel part and the merciful part wearing the same face. No one is going to hand you the number, but no one can stop you from lowering the height of the door either, and no one can open it for you once you have. The alarm goes off at 5:40, the way it always does. You get up, you go to work, you do the thing that pays for the life you just learned the price of, the same as yesterday, the same as the day before that. But something has shifted in the dark, and nobody can see it. You used to lie there before the alarm, counting mornings with no end on the number. The number has an end now. You cannot see it from here. It is years away, and reaching it will ask for a patience that pays you in nothing visible for a long time. But it has an end. The alarm sounds different when you know it is something you are choosing to answer instead of something answering for you. You used to believe that stopping was a thing that happened to lucky people, or to people born into something you were not. Now you know it is a number, and the number is just your own life, measured honestly and multiplied by 25. And it is not the impossible height they told you it was. The only thing left is to stop letting it move, and to remember, when you finally reach it, that doors are built to be walked through. If you want to keep seeing the part of the financial picture most people only work out far too late, subscribe before you close this. The number has a name. In the next one, we put yours to it.